padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum.
Hi Ming, how are you?
Same old, same old. Everything changes every day.
Yes, right.
Okay, I'm going to welcome the audience. My friends, welcome to episode 9 of Vibe with Venerables. 1 hour of live Dharma and dialogue where you get to talk directly to a respected Venerable. I'm Ming, co-founder of Buddhism.net and your host. And today's episode is special in 2 ways. First, because we have a live in-person audience, in addition to a live worldwide audience. And second, and more importantly, we have the amazing Venerable Thubten Chodron with us today. Venerable Chodron is the founder and abbess of Sravasti Abbey. She teaches worldwide. She's involved in prison outreach and interfaith dialogue. She has written many books, including the 10-volume book series, The Library of Wisdom and Compassion, that she wrote with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And she didn't want her long bio read, so that's all I'm going to say about her. And that in person, she is wonderful, she is wise, she's compassionate, she's warm, she's also very funny. And all of us here love and admire her. So Venerable Chodron will be here to talk about love. She will answer the question, what's love got to do with it? And I'm also planning to ask her, what's love but a second-hand emotion?
What's my what?
What's love but a second-hand emotion?
It's a second-hand.
It's what's love but a second-hand emotion. It's playing on the Tina Turner song that of the same.
Oh, you didn't know? Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I don't pick up those things.
Okay. Yes, you have to be old like me, you know. Yeah. Venerable Chodron is too young to know the reference.
Okay.
So Venerable Chodron will speak for roughly 30 minutes and then answer your questions live. And as a reminder, this session will be recorded and uploaded onto YouTube later. And for those of you joining us on Zoom, I'd like to invite all of you to turn on your camera if you are willing to, because Venerable Chodron will be looking at the gallery view, and she loves to see your faces. Mm-hmm. So with that, Venerable, can we invite you to start us with a prayer, and if you'd like to, 1 minute meditation?
Okay. So we'll start with taking refuge in the 3 jewels and generating bodhicitta, and reciting the 4 immeasurables, because the job that Ming gave me was to talk about love, so I better do it exactly right, as the boss commanded. So we'll recite the 4 immeasurables. Since the time to give the talk is so short, we may not have a guided meditation. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, I don't have things planned out in concrete. I kind of go with the flow. That's an old saying, but maybe people still know what it means, huh? Okay. So when we take refuge and generate bodhicitta, we imagine in the space in front of us the Buddha surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings. And then we think of ourselves as leading all living beings to taking refuge, generating bodhicitta, and contemplating the 4 immeasurables.
I take refuge until I am awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma. I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings.
May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. So take a moment and contemplate the four immeasurables that we just recited. Okay.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So, to talk about love, which in this version of the Four Immeasurables is the first one, there's several questions that come up. For example, we say, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. That's what the definition of love is, the wish for sentient beings to have happiness and its causes. But we have to really stop and ask, what is happiness? Especially from a Buddhist viewpoint. What is happiness? And what are the causes of happiness? And I'll come back to that in a minute, because these are two very important questions, because the answers from a Buddhist perspective are different from our ordinary worldly answers. Okay, talking about love is, we also have to talk about what are the prerequisites for generating love. Okay, in other words, do we just sit down and say, I love everybody? Or are there certain things that we have to cultivate, certain attitudes we have to cultivate and be well versed in so that we can actually cultivate love? Okay? And not just say, oh, I love everybody, which we all know isn't true. Okay, so that's an important question. What are the prerequisites? And then what's the difference? Another question that comes up is, what is the difference between love and attachment? Okay, because we always hear on the radio, in the movies, everybody's always declaring, I love you, I can't live without you. Your eyes are like diamonds, and your teeth are like pearls. Now, is that love? Is that attachment? That's what the media gives us, but is that really what it is? Okay, so what's the difference between love and attachment? And then another question that comes up when we start talking about the Buddhist view of love is, why in the world do we have to have love for all sentient beings? I mean, Having love for the people I like makes sense. Having love for strangers, not makes sense, but, I tolerate them. But love for the people who talk bad about me, who disagree with me, who criticize me, I don't have love for them. Yeah. So why does Buddhism talk about love towards each and every sentient being? Especially when some of them are such jerks. Yeah, don't you think so? Yeah, Ming, what do you think? Some sentient beings are really jerks. Yeah.
Yes,
So
that sounds like what people say
how
about
are we
me.
supposed to love them?
Yes.
Okay. So let's come back to the first one. Yeah. Wishing, we say definition of love. We wish sentient beings to have happiness and its causes. Okay. Now, our ordinary view of happiness, okay, first thing, they have tons of money. Yeah? Yeah, first quality of happiness, lots of money. They are good looking. They have high social status. Yeah, they're rich. They're powerful. They're well educated. And the most important quality that shows that they are worthy of happiness is they agree with all my opinions. Okay? And they follow all my advice. That way, they will definitely have happiness. Yeah? Isn't that how we think of happiness in the world? Yeah? Oh, I forgot to mention, and they have good wealth. Yeah? And they have a very attractive partner. Yeah? And a very good car, the kind that goes and makes lots of noise when you drive down the street. Yeah. And they should have a lovely singing voice. They should be athletic. Yeah. And I already mentioned rich, but that doesn't hurt to mention twice. Okay. And they should love me. Yeah, that's very important. They should love me, never criticize me. Yeah, and follow my advice and my instructions and do everything I want. And then they will definitely have happiness. Okay, what is so that's worldly happiness, right? What we all think. Okay, now when we are really wishing sentient beings to have happiness, okay, we don't say that they can't have any of that stuff. Yeah, it's okay to have it, but if they're going to be happy with it, they have to not be attached to it. Okay, so no problem with having worldly happiness, but when we get attached to it, that becomes the cause of suffering. Why? Because we never have enough. And what we do have is never good enough. Yeah? And what we have breaks. It doesn't last forever. Yeah? And if I have that object or I'm with that person constantly, I just get fed up. Yeah. So, worldly happiness, when we have attachment to our own happiness and see other people and other objects as the source of that happiness. In other words, the external object or person is there, and they radiate happiness, which comes into us. That's how we usually think of it. Yeah, but like I said, it isn't fulfilling, it doesn't last, and we can be disillusioned with it, yeah, because it's temporary, it's impermanent, And with our attachment, we are never ever satisfied. Okay? So then the next kind of happiness we want, we can look for, if we have the fortune of meeting the Buddha's teachings, is we start thinking that there's another kind of happiness. The happiness, what we call Dharma happiness. The happiness of a peaceful mind that comes from releasing ignorance, anger, and attachment. Yeah, the happiness that comes from releasing our self-centered attitude. Yeah, the peace that comes from not always having to be right. Yeah? When we feel okay about being wrong, because sometimes other people have better ideas and they know more than us. Yeah. So the happiness that doesn't cling on to our ego, that isn't attached to reputation, that isn't attached to status, okay? The happiness that comes, from seeing that samsara is a hellhole, to put it frankly, that, we may say, well, wait a minute, how do you get happiness from seeing that there's no happiness that exists in samsara? Okay? You get happiness because you see there's another kind of happiness that doesn't depend on external people, that doesn't depend on possessions, social status, and all these things. It's the kind of happiness that comes from feeling good about ourselves. And how do we feel good about ourselves? When we keep good ethical conduct. Then there's a peacefulness in our mind that's free of guilt, free of regret, free of grudge holding. There's the happiness when we give up revenge and retaliation, and can just, again, be peaceful and really care about other people. Okay? There's the happiness of not running around trying to be the biggest and best in samsara, which is a very fruitful endeavor. And then there's the happiness, how to get all these freedoms, the happiness of realizing, generating love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. There's the happiness that comes from aspiring for liberation instead of clinging to samsara. There's the happiness that comes from realizing emptiness and selflessness and seeing that there's no concrete ego here that I need to protect to start with. So there's the happiness that comes from learning the Dharma, from practicing it. And by learning and practicing the Dharma, we develop a very close relationship with the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And there's a lot of comfort and joy and feeling of being understood, something we always want. That comes when we feel that the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha really understand us at a very deep, intimate level, and that they really care for our happiness, not simply worldly happiness, but the long-term happiness. The happiness that comes from generating bodhicitta, from realizing selflessness, from practicing the Pāramitas. So there's so many different kinds of happiness. They say that when you've generated bodhicitta, when a beggar comes and says, please give me this and that, you feel this incredible sense of happiness because you have the opportunity to practice generosity. Yeah? How do we feel when a beggar asks us for something? Like, ew, get away, leave me alone. Yeah. But a bodhisattva, it's like delight. Yeah. A bodhisattva, when somebody criticizes them, when somebody insults them publicly, bodhisattvas go, fantastic. I'm so happy. Yeah. I have such a big ego. When somebody does this to me, it's reducing my ego. It's reducing my self-centeredness. And my self-centeredness is my real enemy. Thank you so much for criticizing me and insulting me to my face, in public. Thank you. You've benefited me so much. Yeah? Wouldn't that be an incredible kind of happiness to have? Yeah? His Holiness Dalai Lama talks about the happiness of giving, yeah, when without expecting anything in return. And he says that when you practice generosity, the act of giving is what brings you joy. Okay? You don't need a thank you. You don't need a beautifully decorated card that somebody sends you saying how wonderful you are and how much you've helped them. You don't need any of that. That joy comes from simply sharing and fulfilling a need in somebody else. Yeah. In terms of ethical conduct, yeah, the joy comes when we're able to restrain our ignorance, anger, attachment, jealousy, arrogance, lack of integrity, lack of consideration for others. Yeah, there's so much joy in like, oh, you know, and there's a previous joy. When we see a fault we have, okay, bodhisattvas, when they see faults or mistakes, they say, fantastic, I'm so happy because I want to become a Buddha, and to become a Buddha, I need to eliminate these faults and these mistakes. Now I can see them clearly. It makes me so happy because now I can really practice and counteract those things. Okay? So that's what's happiness. And doing these practices, cultivating these attitudes, which are the total opposite of our worldly attitudes. Yeah? From a Dharma perspective, these are the causes of happiness. Yeah? And actually generating them are happiness, is happiness. So when we think of other sentient beings, yeah, let's wish them this kind of happiness too, because this kind of happiness is much more stable. It's a happiness that comes from in here, and nobody else can take it away. Whereas somebody can take away their possessions, they can take away your partner, the love of your life, they can cancel your reputation, but our realizations and what comes inside here, nobody else can take away from us. Yeah? So, yes, we want to wish sentient beings worldly happiness, but with them being free of the attachment to it. And then wish them all these different kinds of Dharma happiness that comes from learning and practicing and actualizing the Dharma, and especially here about the happiness that comes when in the Bodhisattva training, when we exchange self for others. Yeah, because in our usual way of thinking, when we say, I want happiness, I refers to me. Yeah, and everybody says, I want happiness. And yes, all sentient beings want happiness too. But my happiness is the most important one. Yeah, definitely first my happiness. If other people benefit me, yeah, they can have happiness too. But people who harm me, may they go to hell. We say that, don't we? Yeah. Or if we're in a better mood, we say, may they get hit by a truck. Yeah, we're so gracious, aren't we? Yeah. So real happiness, I think, comes from counteracting, all the afflictions. And even flipping the afflictions so that when they arise, we say, now good, now I know what I need to work on in my Dharma practice. Yeah. And when we say, I want happiness, switch it so the I refers to other living beings, because other living beings, believe it or not, also say I. Isn't that incredible? They are other. Yeah, I refers only here. Other living beings, they are other. They're second class. I am first class. But what the practice, which comes in the Bodhisattva training, of exchanging self and others, then, because every other sentient being says I, to refer to who we consider other, we flip it and we start speaking like that too. Yeah. So I want happiness in our old language means others want happiness. Okay? So in any situation, now, and this is really good when you're in conflict with somebody, you disagree about some really important thing like, who's going to wash the dishes today. To think, and we're saying to ourselves, I want happiness. I don't want to do it. They should do it. And then you flip it so that I want happiness. You're talking from the viewpoint of their self, from their I. Yeah, so I want happiness. The other person can wash the dishes. Then all of a sudden, your old I becomes other, and the happiness of what you consider the other person is I, because they say I. Yeah, and they say, I want happiness, and my happiness is more important than others. And that's what I means to all sentient beings minus one. Okay, the one that's the exception is when I think I refers here. And I want happiness means me first. Okay? So there's so much happiness that can really come from training our mind in this way. Yeah. Okay. So I think that people can ask questions now. But only questions I can answer. Only easy questions. Please, don't embarrass me in front of everybody. That means I actually have to practice what I just taught you and say, you're more important than me. Okay, yes, you can point out all my faults. I'm here. Okay.
Thank you. So we have, as Venerable said, we have entered question and answer time. If you have a question, just use the hand raising function of Zoom, and then I will identify you. And okay, Chintana, please unmute yourself.
So hi, I'm Chintana, and I've been practicing the Theravāda tradition, and I'm interested in becoming a Bodhisattva, and I would like to know, how do I do this? And 4 steps or less. No, I'm kidding about that.
Okay. So you want it in 25 words or less that you can practice in 5 minutes and become a bodhisattva, right?
Yes. There we go.
Okay, good. Well, unfortunately, you're going to have to ask somebody else. I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you the long way. Okay. Then what you need to do is learn the bodhisattva practice. So the Theravāda tradition has a bodhisattva practice. Many people don't realize this, but Dharmapala, who was an Indian sage, I think 6th century, he wrote a text on in Theravāda it's called the Pāramis. It's the same word as paramitas in Sanskrit. And one of my friends, actually I think it might have been Bhikkhu Bodhi, was saying that what Dharmapala writes about the Bodhisattva paramitas is very similar, and the Bodhisattva path has many similarities to what Asanga wrote in his Yogacarya Bhumi when he talks about the Bodhisattva path. And so, you can practice that, find a teacher who can teach you, from Dharmapala's text. And then also in the Mahāyāna, it's taught extensively. And my experience is, especially in the Tibetan tradition, they talk about 2 major ways to develop bodhicitta. One is called the 7-point instruction of cause and effect, and the other is called equalizing and exchanging self and others. Yeah, so you can learn those 2 methods and practice them, and then, go on and do the paramitas. So it's quite beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a great question.
Yes. So as we're waiting for our next question, I have a suggestion, which is, and Venerable, please tell me how wrong I am, which is I think that the first 2 parameters, especially the first one, is a good starting point. Because these 2 first parameters are common in both the Theravāda and the Mahāyāna traditions. And they are generosity and fortitude, right? Khasanti. Right? And so
in Sanskrit tradition, it's generosity and ethical conduct.
Yes.
Fortitude is the third one.
I see. So even if we begin with the first, just generosity.
Yeah.
That alone, and if we just keep doing that, and because it encourages us to relinquish.
Yes.
And in relinquishing, then it's like the more you relinquish, eventually you start relinquishing even this selfness. So just one practice alone, generosity alone, starts the whole path.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on what kind of level you understand that. Yeah. But I've heard some people say that from one particular perspective, the whole path is about generosity. Yeah, because why do you want to become a Buddha? So you can share the Dharma with sentient beings. Yeah, so you can be generous with the Dharma teachings, generous with whatever kind of help you can give that would lead sentient beings to full awakening. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so those are 25 words or less. Start with generosity. 3 words.
Okay. Does anybody here in the live audience have questions? Yes.
Venerable, when we first started, you led us through visualizing ourselves before the Buddha and ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings, and we're leading all sentient beings and going for refuge. Why are we leading them in this visualization?
Okay, so the visualization we did at the beginning for taking refuge we think of sentient beings around us, and we think that not only are we taking refuge, but we're leading them in doing it. Okay, so this visualization actually is quite profound, because, like I was saying, usually if we have an enemy, somebody we don't like, we don't want to benefit them at all. Yeah, leading somebody to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha is benefiting them a lot, because we imagine sentient beings being open and receptive to the Dharma. We imagine them being sincerely interested, yeah, and from that, then they seek spiritual guidance. So who's best to give the spiritual guidance? The Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So we lead them in taking refuge, and then we lead them in generating bodhicitta, because that motivation to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings is so precious. So leading them in doing that is an incredible act of generosity, because you really care for sentient beings. Okay? Thinking of doing this, also has the effect of it makes us confront our antipathy, our bias, our prejudice against certain sentient beings, okay? Because another element of this visualization is the holy beings are in front, sentient beings are all around me, and the people I don't like, the people who have harmed me, who have threatened me, who have cheated me, who have slandered me, who have betrayed my trust, all those people I imagine sitting right in front of me, they're also looking at the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha in front. But for me to see the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, I have to first see these people that I don't like, that I think are evil and corrupt and whatever you want to call them. Okay? And so the meaning of this is really, I've got to, deal with my anger and antipathy and bias and prejudice. Because otherwise, how are you going to actually practice any of the Buddha's teachings? Yeah? If we have antipathy and don't like people and we don't trust them, we're not even going to wish them well, let alone be generous towards them. And if we don't like somebody, are we going to abandon lying, cheating, killing, stealing with them as the object? No! We'll actually do those things to make them suffer because we're angry. Okay? So, this visualization makes us really, to see the holy beings, I have to establish a better relationship with sentient beings. Yeah. And this is really crucially important, because some people think, in Dharma practice, you just make offerings on the altar, you make lots of expensive offerings to high lamas and to monastics. But the people who are poor, they're poor because something's wrong with them. They're lazy, they're uneducated, that's why they're poor. Yeah. Is that a mind stream? Is that an attitude that the Buddha encourages us to have about other sentient beings? No. He encourages us to cultivate love. May they have happiness in its causes. So if I'm looking at them and thinking the opposite of what the Buddha has taught me is the path, then I've got some work to do. So that's why. Does that answer your question okay?
I'm still a little confused, Venerable, about why it's important that we're leading as opposed to just doing it equally with other sentient beings.
Because if you're doing it equally, you're just assuming that they're doing it. Yeah. Yeah. And they may be just like us and be distracted. I take refuge until I am enlightened. Yeah? No, so we want to be leading them and setting a good example for them. Okay? Uh-huh.
Venerable, what is the difference between happiness and its causes and free of suffering in its causes? Isn't it happiness too if you are free of suffering?
Yes. So wishing happiness and its causes is love. Wishing sentient beings to be free of suffering and its causes is that's compassion. So love and compassion complement each other. And if you think about it, can you really wish somebody to be happy if you don't wish them to be free of suffering? Can you really wish somebody to do the causes of happiness and know what they are without them abandoning the causes of suffering? Yeah. So love and compassion are kind of like two sides of the same coin. Yeah. They're slightly different in the approach, but I think to practice one also stimulates us to practice the other. And in the Bodhisattva training, there's no specific order in which great love and great compassion get realized. Yeah. There is a certain kind of love called heartwarming love that you have to create, you have to generate before you can have either love or compassion. And heartwarming love comes from meditating very deeply on the kindness of sentient beings and how much in this life and all of our preceding lives, they have been kind to us. Okay? In other words, when we really see ourselves as the recipient of a lot of kindness from other sentient beings, then when we think of other sentient beings, we have a feeling of heartwarming love. Okay? So heartwarming love is, some people translate it as endearing love. Okay? So sentient beings seem very endearing to you because when you look around, wow, you know, they've done so much to help you and benefit you in this life, in previous lives, and in future lives, they'll also do this. Okay? Yeah. Other questions? Okay, Tracy?
I guess I'll play kind of devil's advocate and bring up that society is always telling us that it's bad for us to place others above ourselves because then we're doormats or we're feeding our low self-esteem and we're not taking self-care. And what would be a good counter to that?
Okay, yes. It's very true. Society tells us that. Yeah, that, and we're taught as kids, you've got to take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? Yeah, and if you don't stick up for yourself, other people are going to manipulate you, take advantage of you, cheat you. Yeah. This is the way the world doesn't trust love and compassion. But from a Buddhist viewpoint, if we have actual love and actual compassion, not phony baloney, love and compassion, then people cannot take advantage of us. Okay, if, for example, okay, if I just have compassion when somebody comes and asks me to loan them $1,000, I will just pull out $2,000 and give it to them because I have so much compassion. Yeah, and then they say they'll pay me back in a month, and I never hear from them again. So they took advantage of me. You know, what I did was not compassionate. I should have loved myself and kept the money for myself and my own family, and, you know, gone and bought a yacht or something, you know, something really useful that I really need. Yeah. What am I going to do with a yacht? I have no idea. Okay, but here, okay, if we really have compassion and we sense that somebody is just trying to get money out of us, for example, we know this person has a substance abuse problem. We know that they're an alcoholic or that they're taking drugs, and they're asking us for money. And then we say, oh, I'm being so loving, so compassionate, here's the money. That is not compassion. That is not love. That is harming the other person. Okay? If we sincerely care about them, we say, no, I will not loan you that money, but I will pay for you to go to rehab. And then you take them to a rehab center. Okay? See, so love and compassion from a Buddhist sense doesn't mean fulfilling whatever somebody wants now, because lots of times what people want now is not good for them. It means looking out for their long-term benefit, what's going to really help them. And I think anybody who is a parent knows what I mean, okay? If you have a child, because, well, you're a parent, you better have a child, and your kid is going, Mommy, Daddy, I want ice cream. You know, I don't want to eat my food. I want ice cream. And I want 5 flavors of ice cream, all in 5 different containers, the big containers. You know, Mommy, Daddy, I love you, so please get me ice cream and more ice cream. Okay? Now, if you're a parent, do you say, oh, yes, dear, I love you so much, and you go out and you buy 5 half gallons of ice cream because of the flavors that your child wants, and you bring them home because your child wants to sit there and shovel ice cream in their mouth for the next 4 hours? Okay. Is that kindness to your child? What kind of adult is that child going to grow up to be if they think that all they have to do is go, I want this, and then somebody goes out and gets it for them? You know, if you think that's compassion to get, or love to give your kid whatever they want, they're not going to be able to function in this world. They won't know how to deal with the frustration of not getting everything they want. Because let's face it, in samsara, we do not get everything we want, do we? Yeah. And so if you really love your child, what you want to do is teach them how to deal with the disappointment, with the frustration of not getting what they want, and to teach them also, to actually assess what they need, the difference between wanting and needing, so when your kid wants 5 half-gallons of different flavors ice cream, do you really need this? Yeah. What about other kids? If I got that, do you want to take it to school and share it with all your friends? That might be nice. Yeah. But just getting it, and if you keep eating it, you're going to get a really bad tummy ache. Yeah. So really thinking the long-term benefit for somebody. And sometimes that involves telling people what they don't want to hear. And it involves them getting mad at you. So real love, real compassion is, you don't mind if they get mad at you for that, because you know what you're doing is done out of actual care and concern for them. You're not a people pleaser. Okay? So there's a difference between being generous and being a people pleaser. Yeah? A generous person really cares and wants to give something that will benefit somebody. A people pleaser just wants to make everybody happy so that those people will like them. Okay? So I get you everything you want so that you will like me. And I get you everything that you want so that you don't hate me and blame me. Okay? If I have that kind of motivation, am I actually caring for them? I'm caring more for myself, aren't I? Yeah. So I'm pleasing them so that they'll be nice to me and they'll like me. That's phony baloney. Okay? So, what society, my point here is, what society teaches, which you so adeptly quoted, we have to sit down and think, is that true? Yeah. Society teaches us lots of stuff that if we really sit and think about it, it's not true. Yeah. Like, keep everything good for yourself. Yeah. Well, if we do that, then we're going to have a house full of clutter. Yeah. And people are going to see us and say, that person's really a hoarder. And it seems like they're quite self-centered and just thinking about what they can accumulate themselves. Yeah. And then, you have all that stuff. You don't want to give any of it away. Yeah. Because if I give it away, I won't have it. Yeah. And so there's fear. Yeah. There's fear. So, that's why we have to really think long term what's helpful. And I think parents understand that. Yeah. Because you can raise somebody who can function in society, or you might raise somebody who turns out to be a brat, like me. I want this, I want that, give me this, give me that, I don't like this and that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Venerable, we have about 6 minutes. May I ask the last question? Okay, so this is hypothetical. Hypothetically, let's say you live in a democratic country, and let's say it's been taken over by fascists. being taken over by
Oh,
fashion.
you're talking about America?
This is hypothetical. Donald Trump.
Okay.
So historically, I mean, the only way to defeat the Nazis was to defeat the Nazis, right? There's no way to appease them.
Talk a little bit slower, Ming.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So historically, the only way to defeat the Nazis was to defeat the Nazis. That you cannot appease them, we cannot love them to death, and so on. So we have to resist. But my question is, Venerable, is there a way to, or what is the best way to resist while still being loving and joyful?
Okay, you know what my dream is? I would love to give a Dharma talk to the U.S. Congress together with the Supreme Court, the cabinet, and especially the president and the vice president. I would love to do that. Now, what kind of effect would it have? Let's say I had that opportunity to do it. You know, I don't know. Maybe some people it might affect. Yeah. I remember there was one Episcopalian priest, a woman, who several months ago, when the American government was, and still is, very intent on deporting migrant workers and on, you know, firing people in the federal, I don't want to say bureaucracy, all the people in the different agencies, yeah. And she said, you know, the president and the vice president were in the room, and she said, you know, please understand that this kind of policy could damage people, and people are very, very afraid right now. They want to know that they and their families are safe. Yeah. So please try and have some compassion for them and, you know, do things that will be good for them. And some people, government people in the audience, were sitting like this. So it wasn't going in very well. But I was looking at the vice president's wife, and she was listening and taking it in. Yeah. So, you know, we have to spread a message, and some people take it in and some people don't, but we keep on spreading it. We keep on trying to say things in a way so that people can hear it and be receptive to it. But, you know, so much here is dependent on previous karma. Yeah, the karma that you're talking about, a societal thing, a country becoming fascist. So much depends on previous karma. It depends on what people are hearing in the media, what the leaders are telling them. You know, because some people think deeply about these things and other people just believe what they hear without thinking much about it. Yeah? Mm-hmm. But there is hope. Because if you look at it, you know, why do we have to keep trying and doing our best, even though we're not even bodhisattvas, let alone Buddhas? I'm speaking for myself here. If you think about it, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have been trying to lead us to full awakening since beginningless time. Yeah. Have they succeeded? No, because I still want my ice cream. And I want to do things my way. I don't want to do them your way. And the path takes too long, and it's too difficult. Buddha, can you make it shorter and easier, please? You know, Buddha and Bodhisattvas are trying to lead us, And our minds are like harder than concrete. Yeah. But they don't give up on us. Yeah. They don't say, forget these people. Just forget them. No, they keep trying in whatever way is possible. So if the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas don't give up on us, we should not give up on anybody else. And keep trying. And the first one we have to work with is this one. Okay? So we shouldn't be so interested in reforming other people that we don't look at how we need to train our own mind.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay. Venerable, would you please lead us in a closing dedication and bless all of us?
Okay. This is a dedication that we usually do. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay.
Friends, let's all bow to our teacher.
Okay. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about the Dharma.
Thank you, Venerable Chodron, for being with us. And thank you for doing so much for so many. I know you don't want us to talk about you, which is why my introduction was so short, but I don't even have the words to know how to thank you for all that you've done for all of us. So thank you.
And many thanks to you too, Ming. Take care.
So all I can say is you are awesome. Thanks for being awesome, and thanks for being born for all our benefits.
Yeah. But then if I say I'm awesome, then I means you. So I'm awesome. So do you recognize that you're awesome too? In my mind, you are.
Oh, thank you.
Okay? Okay.
Yeah. So, friends, friends, this recording will be uploaded to Buddhism.net YouTube channel soon. So subscribe and share. And if you are inspired to practice dana or generosity, remember, dana is the first step, first Pāramitā, first step to the Bodhisattva path. If you are inspired to practice dana towards Venerable Chodron, please donate directly to Sravasti Abbey. We'll be sharing the link by chat and by email. And in the next 4 weeks, we're going to have 4 more wonderful Venerables from Sravasti Abbey to talk to us about love. Which means what? Yes, you get 5 Venerables for the low price of 1. Welcome to the summer of love. And with that, my friends, thank you next week. And thanks you all for coming.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who listened. Take care.
Thank you.